Koleda is an absolute badass, and she is one of the most unique characters in the Zenless Zone Zero. She's the only character whose moves, both her basic attacks, her skill, and her ultimate changes depending on who she has on her team. If she is paired up with her best friend Ben, which is the big bear character of the game, her moves actually change. Now they get an increase in boosts, and Ben, when paired up with Koleda, kinda acts as a buffer to her. But is Ben the best buffer for Koleda? Or can you get more bang for the buck by bringing someone else? Namely, Lucy. Let's discuss it. Hello everybody, welcome into the channel. My name is Hako, and I'm joined today with my lovely co-star, Pilot, who, if you watched yesterday's video, he kinda ruined by begging for treats constantly. Let's see how he is today. So, today I wanted to address the topic of who to bring, Lucy or Ben, when it comes to Koleda. And I've done extensive testing. I've been sitting here for 4 hours, just like testing out different combos, different scenarios, and I aim to give you enough information so you can make a more informed opinion on how to build your team when it comes to Koleda. Now, I think most of us know by now that if you bring Ben together with Koleda, stuff happens. Koleda gets stronger, she gets different animations for stuff, different skills, different ultimates. Pilot, that's quite enough, thank you. He just wants a treat. But I'm not sure if... I think a very small minority actually knows how big this buff is. Now I've crunched the numbers, and I am gonna be comparing them to the other best... potentially best support in the game for Koleda. And let's fight it out. Let's talk about what we're gonna be... Let's talk about what we see. Let's talk about what the numbers mean, where they come from, where did it go, Katanayo, etc. But yeah, let's dive into what support is better. Is it Ben or is it Lucy? Let's get into it. Now Ben is the only defense character right now in the game. He's the only character that has the defense role. And he has a unique synergy with Koleda that makes Koleda's attacks have different animations. I'll show you some example of Koleda's attacks without Ben, and I'll show you some examples with Ben. Now, the attacks gain a little bit more of an area when you have Ben with you, compared to when you don't. It's not a massive difference, and I think most notably, you can see it on the ultimate, that range does increase somewhat. And for some of the skills, the days attacks, or like the days amount applied by the attacks, increases, although not by much. We're talking an increase of less than 10% on most things. But since Koleda is a stun character and her main objective is to stun the enemy, this should be taken into consideration. Now, Ben can also supply a shield, and while that shield is active, he raises the crit rates of his teammates by 16%. Now 16% crit is that's quite a substantial little buff. Well, for testing purposes, I've made sure that that buff isn't active, and that Ben is wearing his best W engine, which is a big cylinder. Defense doesn't have any support. As of right now, defense doesn't have any supporty W engines. So instead I put on Ben's best one. And I did the same with Lucy, just so this would be fair, because we want to test them in kind of a real scenario. Although I've been testing them all without discs, just so that stats and such from discs does not factor into the testing. Now, Lucy is a very interesting character. If I were to put together a list of the best 4-stars in the game, she might just snag number 1. Lucy is an absolutely amazing character. She is the only minion type character in the game. Well, depending on what you class Rena as. But Lucy brings out an army of pigs, namely 3. And then her skill is to actually take up her baseball bat and shoot away these pigs. Now, if you do an EX move and you hold it when you have enough energy, you will do what is called, let me see what it's called so I don't say it wrong. Yes, when you hold her EX special attack, you will launch a fly ball. Now, this fly ball, when it hits an enemy, if you turned it into an EX attack by using it after you had enough energy, it will give your team a damage or an attack boost for 15 seconds. If you just press it, so like you don't hold it, you just press it, your team will get a damage boost for 10 seconds or an attack boost for 10 seconds. Now, Lucy is very good at buffing, but she also deals a considerable amount of damage herself, especially with investment, since her core skill, when she's paired up with a teammate that like activates her batter up ability, her guard boars, so her pigs, inherits Lucy's crit rate and her crit damage. So if Lucy has 50 crit rate and 100 crit damage, well, her pigs will also. And Lucy gets considerably a lot better with the cinema discs. Now, I don't have Lucy at C6, I have it C5. But I do have Ben at C6. So Ben is actually going to be slightly better when testing this out. Although none of Ben's cinemas are really for buffing anything else, so it will be fine. But if anything, Lucy comes out a little bit short compared to what she would have if I had yet another Lucy. I tested all of this in the VR training in the video store. I tried different levels, but the one I settled for was trying against, what's his name? Danahan, something like that, at level 40, with level 40 units myself. And what I found is that Koleda, just on her own, unbuffed and like just solo, not a single teammate, with her like enhanced basic attack string, she dealt 2,903 damage. And the thing I'm counting on is like the last 3 hits that are like the really like that are the ones that actually like get changed together with Ben. Now keep in mind, there are the basic attack string actually includes attacks that Ben does not partake in. These attacks do get buffed with Lucy. So on her own she did 2,903 damage. And her ultimate damage on same enemy, same circumstances, completely on her own, led up to a total of 10,160 damage. Now, with Ben, the basic attack went up, with the basic attack string, or the last bit that Ben actually jumps in on, got raised to 3,521 damage. So 2,903 compared to 3,521. That is an increase of roughly 20%. And for ultimate, remember Lucy on her own, she did 10,160. With Ben, the ultimate did 11,114. So it added on roughly 10%. Which It's nothing to scoff at, and let's also remember that it does change the animations for the move, and it does turn it into a completely different move with slightly more days. Now, with Lucy, we can bring Koleda's attack damage string from 2,903 to 4,039. That is a 39% increase. And for the ultimate, same goes there. For the ultimate, we bring it up from 10,160 to 14,036. That is an increase of check my notes. Of also roughly 39%, or a little bit under 38.5. So Ben gives a circa 20% boost for the basic attack string and circa a 10% boost for the ultimate, slightly more like 12%. Lucy brings in a whooping 39%. And let's also remember, Lucy does damage off the screen with her pigs, and she buffs more than just the attack string or just the enhanced attack. She buffs everything. So, what does this mean? Does this mean we should just kill Ben? Does it mean that we should just take him out in the woods, set him free? Not necessarily. So there are some factors to take in here. One, Koleda's moves change to different moves. These moves have more days, although it's not a massive difference. Like I said before, we're talking ish 10%, but 10% more days. But hey, it is to buff a stun unit, right? So maybe that 10% days outweighs the extra damage boost that Koleda gets. It depends a little bit of what team you're actually running. Now, say that you were running Soldier 11, and then you had a Koleda, and then you had Ben just to make Koleda slightly better. In that scenario, I would 100% recommend switching out Ben for Lucy, because Lucy also then benefits Soldier 11 massively. Like, it's not even close. But if you are running Koleda as your main carry in the Koleda team, maybe you should go for them both. Maybe your team then becomes Koleda, Lucy, and Ben. That will give Koleda a lot of help. That being said, I was surprised to see how little Ben actually did for Koleda. I was expecting the numbers to be slightly more, because Ben right now, he takes out, the teams are much smaller than any other Hoyo game. Usually we get 4 character slots to play around with on the Hoyo games. In Zenless Zone Zero, they're giving us 3, which means that everybody has to earn their place on the team. And if the option or the replacement is a wide step down, or if whatever you can replace it with is a massive buff, then you need to take a close look at that character and see what he's actually bringing. Now, Ben does bring a lot of tankiness to the squad. No doubt about that. But as of current content, you do not really need to be super tanky, because the combat is more surrounding like the dodge mechanic and the switch in mechanic. So instead of tanking hits, you are meant to be switching out and dodging them. So now, little caveat that I mentioned before. Ben does provide a crit rate to any ally that has his shield. And it's a crit rate of, I think it was 16%. Let's not forget this one. That will come into play. I didn't do this on the testing because if you have crits when you do stuff like this, like it gets very hard to count everything together. So that will up his performance slightly. But he is also E6. Lucy is not. Lucy is, however, wearing... Wait, let's pop to another screen and I can show you. Alright, there we go. Lucy is, however, wearing...
To what do I owe the pleasure?
Kaboom the Cannon, which fully superimposed. And this is her best one, just as I have Ben's best one on him. Now, this one is absolutely amazing on Lucy. It provides 4% attack to all friendly units when any friendly units attack an enemy. And this counts for her pigs. This is super good, super amazing. And like I said, she boosts ultimate by circa 40%. And the last hits of the basic attacks with 40%. Because that's what I was counting. Because that's what's most fair to Ben. But there are attacks, like I said before, there are attacks leading up to Ben's attack. And Koleda does a lot of damage that's not connected to Ben, even when Ben is in the team. Like when you don't have energy and you bash on enemies, that Ben contributes no damage there. Lucy does. Ben contributes no damage to the first 3 or 4 hits in the attack string. Lucy does. So in this scenario, Ben boosts like the last big hits at the end. Lucy boosts the entirety of it with the same percentage, which is circa 40 with this gear and this build. Might increase even more once sufficient gear gets smacked on. That's also something to remember. Like, you can increase the buff that you give Koleda with Lucy by upgrading Lucy more. Although the stat increase she gets on her stuff from Ben, they are kind of set in stone. That being said, Koleda is the only character in the game to have such a unique interaction with one of her teammates. So I might still use them together. Like if I don't use both, like all 3 together, I might still run Ben. Because I think it is really heckin' cool that they have this synergy. And the days does increase somewhat. Let's see here. Basic attack. Then we have enhanced basic attack. Enhanced basic attack, second hit days, multiply teamwork. So anything with Ben will be like called teamwork. Now this one does have this one hit does have like 100% extra days. Mind you, it doesn't mean double from this. It's a 50% increase in days from this one, but that's one attack in quite a long string. So that one has increased days. And if we look at the ultimate, ultimate Hammerquake, days multiplier normally is 1279%. If you have teamwork, so if you have it with Ben, it gets popped up to 1395%. So if you only view Koleda as a stunner, you do not care about her damage, Ben will be better. Ben will be better because Koleda will be stunning more. If you do, however, care about Koleda's damage and you're min-maxing, that Lucy is a lot better. Does that make sense? And Ben also takes up a slot, and Ben doesn't necessarily benefit any other character that much. Like I said, if you're running Soldier, I can't see a scenario where you wouldn't want to run Lucy instead of Ben in that team. Except for the coolness factor, of course. no content in the game is like too hard, so I'm not sure if you need to min-max anything. But yeah, there you go. Pure damage, Lucy is gonna outsupport Ben. Just coolness factor and slightly more days, and overall team survivability. Go with Ben. A Koleda is good either way.
You want to test my hammer?
So I hope this was informative. I hope I helped make you an informed decision by knowing exactly what each character you choose to brings to the table. And I hope I helped you make a better informed decision. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, Hako out.